Hi everybody, welcome. And here are my predictions for the possible potentials for the year 2021 to 2022. This year has got quite a different flavour to 2020. 2020 being a very cardinal year with all these cardinal aspects, Mars retrograde in Aries, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, Capricorn energy, had a lot to do with a new earth, a new breaking through. Something had to be initiated, an initiation energy. And certainly this is continuing to happen for those of you watching the video towards the tail end of 2020. So we always look as astrologers at the outer planets. When we want to look further ahead, we want to look at the planets that move more slowly so we can get an idea of the kind of cycle that we're in. So when we look at Pluto, Pluto founded in 1930, coincided with the birth pill, coincided with scientists finding how to split the atom and create the bomb, and also coincided with the invention or the finding of the computer chip. So Pluto has to do with power, and Pluto is going to be in Capricorn until 2024. So chances are we've still got another few years until we begin to restructure the balance of power in our world. This balance of power that's really at the pyramid of a tiny, tiny few controlling the many, many, many. And it's turning around as we move towards Pluto in Aquarius. The potential is around 2024, 2025. The potential is for it to move away from this top-down energy towards the Aquarian energy, which is the collective reaching out and this equality for everybody, no matter who you are, where you've come from, whatever your background is. So that's what we're moving towards, but chances are that still during 2021, we're going to be dealing with issues to do with the authorities, rules, regulations, and how we structure our world, and the chaos between the loss of one structure or the breaking down of a structure that no longer works in our financial systems, educationally, socially, politically, climatically, ecologically, you name it. We've got to create different structures. But in that process, the old structures have to fall. So I'm seeing more of that coming during this 2021. Neptune. Neptune founded in 1840, sighted in 1846. And prior to that, if you wanted to have an image made, a portrait made, it had to be either sketched or painted or sculpted. Because in 1847 came the widespread development of a camera and everything to do with visual communications, videos and film, and all those things came after Neptune was discovered. And we have Neptune in Pisces in its homeland, if you like, until 2025. So we have this energy of humanity needing to raise its spiritual temperature, finding its compassion, finding its oneness, finding the higher octave of love. We're still in that phase for the next few years. But this, because Neptune is in rulership, in Pisces, it can certainly create confusion, delusion, disillusionment, betrayals, dishonesty, all of that. But on the highest level of the opposite end of that, we are stretching and reaching towards understanding that we are all interconnected with everything seen and unseen. Then Uranus, or Uranus as some like to call it, sighted in 1781, And by 1783, there was the first unmanned balloon flight. And man began to fly in the air, other than when he fell off mountains or tall buildings. We began to learn how to work with the air. And Uranus has had everything to do with our development of space and knowledge and technology. And all this area has blossomed more and more. Now, Uranus in Taurus until 2025. And Taurus rules our financial systems. And Uranus shakes everything up. Whatever is there, it shakes up. But with it being in Taurus until 2025, I think we're still going to see a huge erratic turbulences within markets. Chances are Uranus ruling digitalization. We're probably going to see a digital currency emerging. I think that's already coming, but more cryptocurrencies, more ways of exchanging services online without using the physical filthy lucre, as they call it, because gradually, we're getting away from touching everything. So Uranus in Taurus. Saturn just crept now finally properly into Aquarius at the end of last year, 2020, along with Jupiter, and this marking the end of a long cycle where Saturn and Jupiter have been conjuncting in the most part in Earth signs for 200 years. We've had the Industrial Revolution, the use of fossil fuels, pollution, damaging our environment. And now we move into this air energy, where what I'm seeing is we're going to have more solar energy, more wind energy, free energy. Just like we have free internet connection, energy will become free. More focus upon energy medicine, energy healing. I said several years ago when I did my 2020 seminar, 2020-2030 seminar, I said that we're going to be moving away from people so much, because Aquarius is not people. Aquarius likes a lot of space around it. Doesn't like all this huggy kissy sort of stuff. Doesn't mean to say if you're an Aquarius you don't like it. It's just that Aquarius needs a lot of space to be an individual. So this is a time where the individual needs to be respected. The dignity of difference, as Rabbi Sachs called it in his book, respecting the differences between us, and at the same time beginning to work as a whole. So this is what we're moving towards. This is the bigger picture, if you like. So we're having to clear the air. But in that process, some of the dangers are that we become dehumanized. When I went to Austria recently, just for one night, I noticed that even going in a lift, you don't touch anything. I know there are many places already have that, but only one person at a time in a lift. No touching, no buttons, no nothing. And I think, and in airports now, less and less touch. I think we're moving to less touching. And we're going to have to be working, I feel, more with the mental energy. As we move into this air field, air has to do with mind energy. And what we're doing on that level, and using the power of thought to manifest, rather than working so hard with trying to deal with physical materials. That's what we've been doing in the industrial age, which is now coming to an end. It's not quite there, but it's almost there, as you can see. And I think now with this reset of the economy, with many jobs going, many people working from home, with the robotization, I'm not sure what the word is. I'm sure somebody will correct me in the chat or the comments. We're moving more towards AI, and menial or repetitive jobs are just going to be done by robots. and humans won't be needed for those kinds of things. So there's a sea change now in work and finance. This is this Uranus in Taurus. But what is special about this year, 2021? I'm giving you the overview because it's important that we see the wider picture. So if you do get into challenges, difficulties, dark night of the soul, whatever things you're going through, just know that there's a bigger picture emerging here of which you are a vital part. Aquarius energy is about you seeing that you are vital. You've got something that's really, really important to contribute. It's like every part of our human body is important. I remember when I was growing up, they used to say, well, your tonsils are no use. You don't need them. You don't need your appendix. You know, they had all these things you didn't need. And now, of course, subsequently, they've found that you do need these parts of the body. So I think the parts of society that have been oppressed, the parts of society that have been alienated, abandoned, we've got to pull them in now. That is the call of 2021. The main aspect resonating throughout this year is the square between Saturn in Aquarius and Uranus in Taurus. A square is an uncomfortable aspect, and that's good. If things are all comfortable and what have you, then everybody just sits back, watches their television, eats their crisps and fish and chips or whatever, and goes to sleep. You can't go to sleep during a square of Saturn and Uranus, especially in fixed signs. So what does it mean? Saturn is about restriction. Uranus is about freedom. There are going to be many issues coming up globally around restrictions of freedoms. We're already seeing it, but chances are with this aspect, we're going to see more protests, more riots, more demonstrations, more demands for freedoms. And chances are authorities are going to try to restrict those freedoms. But we are going to have to learn or find a way as to which freedoms must we have and which structures are necessary, are needed. And this is going to be tense. It's like being around somebody you really don't like being around. That's what the square's about. And finding a way, not necessarily to like that person or those people, but somehow to see that perspective, to see the different view. Not necessarily to be convinced, but that's going to be the challenge. And there's going to be polarities, there's probably going to be fighting, might be verbal fighting, but it's going to be this sense of, don't pin me in, don't tell me what to do, with these are the rules. And this is what you're going to do. Otherwise, you're going to have big fines. Now, I think privacy is over. Cameras are going to be on us all the time. You're going to be traceable wherever you are. This is certainly this square, and many people not liking it. I think your health records are going to be available. Health freedoms may be taken away or restricted or reduced for our own good. I think we're going to see more of this during this coming year. How do you work with it within yourself? Because always there can be a lot going on outside, which we're all affected by, whether you like it or not. No more can we say, oh, that's happening over there in Australia, and oh, that's happening over there in China. We are seeing that we're all connected. But I think what we're going to see with this Saturn in Aquarius is a lot of initiatives coming from the ground floor level. Instead of things coming from the top, we as communities are going to break out of all of these controls and say, hey, I want to get out of this matrix. You're going to see more and more people saying, I've had it. Where can we get together? And what can we create in terms of a community, like-minded people, working together with the land, with the earth. Probably going to be more disruptions with the earth, with the square, with Saturn and Uranus. More earthquakes, more earth events. However, the more that we come together in the discomfort and the realization of what we've done to our planet, there has to be an acknowledgement that we've done things that are wrong, that are not healthy, that go against the laws of nature. So first is the acknowledgement of those things, and then is the fixing of those things. So I think that's, again, part of this breaking apart, but the square energy will motivate more people to act than ever before, because it will be so uncomfortable. The discomfort will be so much that you've got to make a move, you've got to make a change. So don't be surprised if it's an uncomfortable year. It probably is going to be damned uncomfortable. But just know, in that discomfort, you move, you find new things, you find new possibilities. New worlds can open up. And anyway, comfort after a while gets boring. You don't appreciate things so much when you get too comfortable. So this is not a comfortable year, but it's a year in which I think we're going to see huge changes to the educational system, with the North Node, the eclipses happening in Gemini and Sagittarius largely in May, June, November, December of 2021. So I think probably more and more home schooling, more and more learning on the internet, and this melding of biology and technology. I know some people are horrified about that, but somehow we've got to find ethical ways and valuable ways of melding the two without dehumanizing everything. I think we may get to the point where we'll have scanners on our computers, whether it's this year, but we're on that way to it, where the body can be monitored, things can be corrected before they're manifested, and you would never see a doctor in person ever again. I mean, there's countries where already you can't go because doctors' surgeries are closed down. Not quite sure what we're going to do with dentists, however, but again, I think new dental discoveries are going to enable us to work with stem cells and new innovations to be able to keep the teeth healthy and the body healthy without so much invasive intervention. I think with the Aquarian energy, we're going to be using airwaves, energy waves, wave energy. You see the wave energy of the glyph of Aquarius, the two waves, energy waves. So I think we're working with particles and waves. And I think this is going to be a very exciting development. I think that we're going to be looking at people with great wealth, the billionaires, the trillionaires even. And it's probably the community or people as a whole, they're going to be encouraged to give away their wealth. So just give it away. No more stealing from everybody to just make more and more and more money. When what can you do with it after a certain amount? So Uranus in Taurus, the shake-up and the rebalancing of the needs of every person on this planet. So I think we're going to find that the billionaires are going to be targeted. And their philanthropic organizations and all of this, I don't think those are going to be enough for the people. I think that the people are going to be up in arms. Politically, we're going to see huge changes. Maybe some this year, there could be some regimes that topple, that come down. I think that in terms of health, with the nodes still in mutable signs, there's every chance that the virus may mutate. And we have to mutate as well and learn how to change and adapt and come together. Because the one planet that is in rulership of the outer planets is Neptune in Pisces. And that, therefore, is potentially the strongest frequency of all of them. Yes, we've got a lot of clanging and bashing going around. Uranus in Taurus is still going to bring these issues around our food supplies, disruptions of food supplies, disruptions of water, disruptions of our survival needs, and opportunities of how we can come together to support one another. Briefly, during the middle of the year, Jupiter goes into Pisces from May 15th to July the 28th. Jupiter resonating there with that Neptune energy, encouraging a wave, I feel, of compassion, of feeling for one another, of really feeling for one another, of working immensely with the energy of prayer. I think prayer is going to be a key word more than ever. I think we'll understand it in a new way, in a different way, not necessarily something that is a dogmatically prescribed thing. More and more people are going to get in touch with their spirituality, the meaning of life. But 2021 is this year of breaking out of your limitations, breaking out of fixed habit patterns. So you'll either have a choice to do it yourself and to try to contemplate best you can the areas in your life where you know you're stuck, and to daily make some changes in that area. Maybe it's your health, maybe it's your relationships, maybe it's your work, whatever it is. And keep stretching beyond the limits. You know how it is when there's a plant. If a plant is in a particular pot, it wants to grow, but it can't grow further than the circumference, the structure of that pot. But if you replant it and you put it in a bigger pot, then it grows and grows. So how big is your pot? Are you going to extend the reach of what you can influence and of how you can be? So birthing pains, our planet is going through contractions and the pains of birthing into a new world. So these are the things that I'm seeing. Probably do some live streams around this as time goes on, but I wanted to give you a heads up and tell you that I think many of you are going to ask me about the financial situation. There's every chance that stock markets are going to continue to rise for a while as the system is propped up artificially. I'm still feeling that gold and silver will go up considerably yet, although there will be very, very volatile, big swings in different directions. Same with the cryptocurrencies. But if you can keep in mind and keep resonating at that highest level, know that structures are falling, know that we're going through this massive change, know that we're in the same boat. We're not in different boats, we're in one boat. And how can we learn to get along with one another? That's going to be the challenge of 2021. How can you learn to get along with yourself and the people close around you? And how can we learn to love every single one as our brothers and sisters? So I want to thank you very much for listening. Thank you to those of you who support this channel on Patreon. Thank you for liking, commenting, sharing, subbing. Bye for now.